You and I have talked about how I feel like we're sitting on this pot of gold with our sphere of influence, and we need to make sure that we're mining that pot of gold at a level 10 before we go off and try to pan for gold in a stream that may or may not have it, aka Zillow or Boomtown or Fizbos or Expired. Those are all great lead sources, but to ignore our sphere to go after them, I think is a pretty significant mistake. So today's subject we've covered before on a previous iteration of the show called The Daily Dose.
Yeah.
And sphere of influence. We all have it. We don't all use it effectively.
Sure.
We like to say that 10% of the people who know us, like us, and trust us will buy, sell, or refer a year. Most of us, that's, up to a couple deals a month, right? And you and I have talked about how I feel like we're sitting on this pot of gold with our sphere of influence, and we need to make sure that we're mining that pot of gold at a level 10 before we go off and try to pan for gold in a stream that may or may not have it, aka Zillow or Boomtown or Fizbos or Expired. Those are all great lead sources, but to ignore our sphere to go after them, I think is a pretty significant mistake. And I know that when I onboard a new coaching client, they're often a little bit deflated that we immediately focus on the sphere because they're like, well, I'm already doing that. And then when you kind of dig in, you realize that they're really not doing it. So let's jump in and talk about the organization of the sphere, who gets what, kind of all that good stuff. Where do you want to start?
With definitions. So sphere of influence is the people you know who know you, right? And probably that you would want to work with too. Knowing somebody that you don't want their listing doesn't count. So sphere of influence is people that you know who know you. What we're going to talk about today also includes other contents in your database. So for half a second, I'm going to back up and talk about the umbrella that is every single person you have contact information for. So if they're in your CRM or they're in your phone and you have contact information for them, maybe it's someone you met at an open house. Maybe it's a less warm lead, right? It's what we call a cold lead, but there are ways to nurture those too. But when you sit down every day, relatively unemployed, and ask yourself, who am I going to talk to today about their real estate needs, it can include your cold leads. So this document that you've just shared has a plan for how you would touch them as well, even though cold leads don't necessarily count as sphere of influence.
Got it.
So this covers everything that could be in your database, although that doesn't include vendors, which is a whole nother potential source of business. That could be a column.
Sure.
So we really want to talk about, Charlie, you said that when you bring on new coaching clients, they say, oh, I'm already doing that. And I think I get resistance not because they think they're already doing it, because they don't want to.
Okay.
They're afraid they're about to be told that they need to nag people. And they say, I don't want to be pushy. And I always say, please don't be pushy. I've taken this year to saying, we don't force people to move for a living. That's not our job, right? So we are here when someone does need to buy or sell, interested in investing, wants to know the value of their home, curious about maybe buying an investment property that could fund their kids' college in the future.
Sure.
We're here for that, to be a part of that experience, to be a part of that journey. The problem is, if you don't educate everyone you know about the quality of your service, they won't call you, right? They won't know. Maybe they'll know that you have a license, but they won't take you seriously. So I think the importance of having a sphere of influence nurture plan is to just stay in the journey with them until they're ready. So I hope everyone listening, if you've cringed because you don't want to be pushy or you think you're already doing it well, I think, Charlie, you gave a really good number. That is, it could be 10%. If you have 200 people that you know who know, like, and trust you, 20 of them could use you or refer you in any given year. And I've shared before other scenarios with much higher percentages, 20%, 30%,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the way you, the quality of the contacts, right? And we have to get back to definitions again. Sphere of influence, the circle of people around you that you influence who influence you, right? These are not people in your neighborhood that you haven't talked to. That's not your sphere of influence.
Right.
Could you reach out to them? Sure, but that's just not what we're talking about right this second. So when we want to support you in coming up with a value proposition that helps you be in community with the homeowners that are in the sphere of influence, so that they'll remember you and refer you. And it could easily be 10% if you do a good job. Awesome.
Good. And an exercise that I like to do with some folks is, really monetizing that, right? What does 10% mean? What do 20 people mean? Okay, well, what's your average commission, right? Well, my average commission is $10,000. So you should be earning $200,000 a year if we're using 20 people and $10,000, on an average commission.
Yeah.
That's $200,000 a year from your sphere.
Sure.
Right. And then being able to say, so how much have you earned from your sphere in the last year? Well, 75. Okay, good. But we could be much better.
Okay, that's a really good point. So what could we justify in marketing spend?
Well, we like to say that marketing is what? How much percentage?
Well, probably 10% of gross.
10%, right?
Legit. Yeah.
Right.
So, boy, these are really easy numbers since we chose.
Yes, they are.
It makes it sound fake. But so 10% of that amount of gross would mean that you could spend $20,000 on your sphere of influence in a year.
Right.
And I know people who choke on that. They're like, oh, dear heavens, really? An expensive party, really quality pop buys, really? That's a lot of money. But you need to look at how happily you would give Zillow $2,000 a month praying for an income of $200,000 a year. And it's interesting, the mindset, which is, oh, no, that's appropriate. So I want to encourage you that your marketing dollars could be spent even more efficiently on the people who already trust you, not to take advantage of them, but think about it. You now have a tax deduction for being nice to people you actually like.
Right. No, that's an interesting way to put it. And you and I have talked before about how we never bat an eye, it seems, of spending tons of money on these other lead sources.
Yeah.
And then we cringe when somebody says, I just had a client event and it was $5,000.
Right.
And yet we both know that, have you ever heard of a client event not resulting in a referral? I don't think I ever have. Right. Even a half-assed client event, right? You get some people there, you talk to them face to face, and it results in, a referral or two.
Yeah.
You just don't hear about client events not going well. So anyway, today's not about client events, and COVID makes client events that much more challenging, and I think we both recognize that. But talk to me a little bit about organizing your database. We have some definitions. The A to the D. I think that kind of confuses some people.
Okay, A, B, C, D. D stands for do not contact. So rather than delete somebody that you don't want to talk to, I would leave them in there. So if they ever call me, I see their name on my phone and I don't answer. We've all had, a bad experience that we just don't want to repeat. So do not contact is D. C's are those cold leads. And I don't know if we need a better definition, Charlie, but the people that you don't actually know, they're more leads than acquaintances, right?
Okay.
I skipped the B's. B's are the people that know you and you know them, and they would refer you and they would use you if they understood the quality of your service, and that's on you, right? These are people, and for those of you who have not nurtured your sphere in the past or who are relatively new to real estate, maybe everybody who knows you in a different way, knows you from a different part of life, is a B, because they don't yet have confidence in your service, they don't understand. And that's on you to change that. The A's are the people who would absolutely refer you if they said, hey, do you know a good agent in the DC area? And they would say, Charlie Bengel, no question. But the A pluses are the ones who would recommend you whether or not anyone was talking about it.
Right.
These are your raving fans, your core advocates, and hopefully you have 10 of these, right? I have a friend who also has a category in her sphere. She calls her connectors. These are the people that she knows who know more people than anyone else. They're just really, really connected to the community, and she stays more connected with them. Another category that you could have in your own sphere of influence could be other business owners, and that you really treat them special.
Sure.
you have the opportunity, those of you listening, to be a part of our world here at the Allegiance Way, to have coaching, as it were. And those of us who have coaching clients, those who are coached, your average builder or carpet layer doesn't have a coach probably.
Right.
So you're learning things that you could share. So you could have a subset of this, of your A pluses, be your connectors or other business owners who, these are different than vendors, I want to clarify. Clients and friends who are also business owners, whatever business they have, you can just nurture them and support them in a special way and have a stronger return from your A's and your A pluses. So Charlie, you said 10%, and we're sort of doing it across the database.
Right.
But if you look at having, let's say, 20 A pluses, which is a lot to have 20 people who really are raving fans of your service, but you can create that. And we have a plan here for you to get there. What if it was a 1-to-1 ratio? That every single year, within 12 months, they would send you a referral. That's not undoable. You could create that level of enthusiasm with the quality of your service.
I like it. And I think with the B's, we need to be educating them about our service, but we also need to be asking for the referrals. There are some people that I think don't realize that a lot of realtors, many realtors, they get a lot of business from referrals.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just show, you sell somebody a house, you do a decent job, and then you never talk to them again, and they don't know that, maybe they found you through an open house, right? They don't think to refer you. I think we've all had clients that have never referred us.
Sure.
Is that because the service was substandard? Was it because we didn't educate them around, hey, referrals are really important to my business, right? I want you to have an amazing transaction with me. So you give me a 5-star review on Zillow, and you never hesitate to refer me to your friends and family, right? And I want to be your realtor for life, as they say. So, I think having that discussion is also important, because some people they just don't know.
Sure.
And then we wonder, well, why didn't I, we've never heard from that person. Well, have we talked to them? Have we educated them? Do they realize that, referrals are a large part of our business?
I agree. I think, though, Charlie, the majority of agents would say, they'll pounce on this thing that you just said and say, good point. So-and-so, it's been 5 years. So-and-so's never referred me. And they'll call them and say, hey, my business relies on referrals.
well, I hope not.
Say, whoa.
Yeah.
Where did you provide value? Right. And so I think for most of the people new to my coaching schedule, the thing we start with first is, what is your commitment to service to all of these people, right? I've shared the story before about the aha about referring people to my sister. My sister is a very strong agent. I've always known that. But she's also a very busy agent. Sure. And she's never been overly hungry for my referrals. She has a team. I don't know if the lead will go to her or someone else. And I wasn't referring people to her because I have other friends who are agents in her marketplace. And this may sound disloyal, but seriously, the woman has enough business.
Yeah.
I didn't refer people to her because I knew she didn't need it and might not even want it. We talk about overwhelm. That's what we chat about as sisters.
Right.
Well, when I discovered in the last couple of years the extraordinary quality of service that she provides to the people that I do refer sometimes, I now refer everyone to her. I trip over myself to be the one. If I see somebody chatting on a thread on Facebook, or one of your agents, Charlie, asks for help out here, I am so quick to say, let me explain why I want you to call my sister. And it's not as a favor to her, it's as a favor to them. Right. And that's what I want all of us to get that we're asking our A's, B's, and C's to refer us as a favor to their friends and family, not as a favor to us.
No, that is a powerful statement, and that might be the takeaway of the day. I appreciate you sharing that. So let me scroll down a little bit, and let's get into what the plan can be. And this, unfortunately, is not going to fit all on the one page here. But let's start with the A+ top 20, kind of on the left column here.
Okay, great. So I want to clarify something. I built this, and I put as many ideas as I could. Well, I could have put more, but I put a lot of ideas, and I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. I want you to cherry pick the ones that you're willing to do. All right. I think a lot of us can tend to get a little bit too, our eyes are bigger than our stomach, and you overcommit. So the monthly market update is really a quality baseline for making sure that everybody remembers that you're in real estate, right? Those recipe cards of the olden days just aren't enough to elevate the professionalism of your brand.
Yes, thank you for saying that, by the way.
The number 2 is a little bit more of a dream of mine. I'm one of those expressive perfectionists who really wishes I could have everything perfect and shiny. I would love to have a community love newsletter as a second piece.
Okay.
Like, partway through the month, the market update goes out, and then partway out throughout the month, something more local comes out. Because think about it. The average person that is going to move once every 7, 8, 9, 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
If you obsess every single month over the market is up 0.5% or down 1% or whatever it is, they just don't care.
Right.
30 days to 30 days about that minutia. Whereas if you keep them in the know about bigger trends in the market or cool places to go, they're definitely going to read those emails. They're not going to tune you out. So that's my hope. If you want to combine it into your newsletter, it has a little bit of everything. That's great. But
are these electronic newsletters, mailed newsletters, some of the above, all of the above?
I love the question, and I wish we had 10 agents on this call to help us debate this, because I really have gone around about this. I love electronic because it costs you nothing.
Right.
It doesn't cost trees. The thing of it is, if you were to mass email via MailChimp, BombBomb, whatever, to 300 people, you can't count that as a touch to 300 people.
Right.
Check your open rate, right? Are 20% of the people even opening it? So you have to think about, is it being delivered or is it not? You also have to think about your audience. I have a coaching client who's been mailing a paper newsletter for a very long time, and she swears people love it. I think it's not a crossword, but it's something like that. There's a little fun part, and there's a contest, and every month somebody gets a prize, and there's no way she's going to change it up for email. She loves her snail mail newsletter. So I don't know, Charlie, what do you think about that? Because I think this is a lively discussion.
Well, I mean, we know that a good open rate for real estate email is what, 20, 25%?
Yeah.
So even if you have a good electronic newsletter, you have 200 people in your database, since that's one of the numbers that we've been using all morning, 50 people. Now, some people teach send it more often. And then, if you send a newsletter once a week, then maybe it'll reach more people. My argument to that would be it's probably going to be the same people opening it, and the same people are not interested week to week. Now, there's, I subscribe to a bunch of newsletters, some daily, some weekly, and sometimes I won't open a daily newsletter for a couple of weeks, and then I'll just open one. I do see it in the subject line. Sure. However, I do like the snail mail is a lot more work. I think agents struggle with getting it put together, right? A template in MailChimp is easy. A template for a mailed newsletter it's a pain in the neck, right? And then getting them printed and mailed. But, like the farming piece, people are, they see it. It comes out of the mailbox even for a split second before it hits the recycle bin. Yeah. So maybe it's the electronic newsletter once or twice a month. Those folks that are associates at Remax Allegiance, we offer twice monthly electronic newsletter. We design it for you. We send it for you, right? You literally have to do nothing, right? We would prefer that you send us updates so that, it's updated to your content, but you don't have to. But I also tell my coaching clients that I'd like to see them send something in the mail once a month to their sphere. Something once a month. And sometimes it's just listed just sold card, not to get off track, but we send those to neighborhoods, but if we haven't been in touch with our sphere for mail that month, why not just send it to them too? It doesn't matter if they live in that neighborhood or not. No. Oh wow, Amy's really busy. Here's another just listed or another just sold. And then you've hit them in the mail, for that month. So I think mail is important because people are going to see it. Yeah. With email and the amount of email that we get, I'm not convinced that people are going to necessarily see it. And plus, it could end up in the promotions folder, which I never look at in my Gmail. I just never do. I get so much email, I just don't. So I know there's some people that look at every email that they get, right? That's not me. So I like the idea of probably both. And if it's not the electronic newsletter, it's something in the mail that's maybe a little bit easier to send.
Well, but Charlie, I think you've said before that perfect is the enemy of good enough.
Yes.
So those of you listening, please start anywhere. Do something modest. And actually, I'll share one more story about my sister. Years and years ago, my sister was ahead of me in business by 5 years, and I would receive her market updates, and they weren't great. She had a business partner who was kind of a get her done type mindset. And I remember standing in my kitchen, looking at this piece and feeling critical, like, wow, I'd do better than this. And guess what I did? Nothing, right?
Right.
My perfectionism got in the way of my sending anything at all. So I'm chortling at the lack of quality in the piece that was sent to me. All these years later, they have extraordinary marketing. Their stuff is absolutely substantive. They worked their way up to it. They do have good staff. They have remarkable marketing and systems. So start somewhere. Don't overthink that. But I think as we work our way down this this flow here, Charlie, I think the other really important thing is that you call them, because if you're emailing something that they may or may not be reading, just calling to say, hey, did you get my market update? And if they say no, you can double check if it went to spam or whatever. But you can just chat them up and find out that they don't feel the need to monitor the market, and that's okay, right? So that's the stopgap measure, is to just make sure that you're calling. And the standard of perfect is 4 times a year, but twice a year it'd be perfectly good. You know, if I lived in my house for 20 years and I talked to my agent twice a year over 20 years, that'd be fine, right?
Well, yeah, and for those watching or listening that make no calls to the Sphere a year, like working to 2 is fantastic.
It is.
Right? Some of you enjoy being on the phone, so quarterly calls are good. And we've talked before about, I'm an advocate of sending mail that you can then follow up with: the annual home value report, the annual letter to clients, right? The birthday card, and then calling them to wish them a happy birthday. I've just found that it's easier for agents to pick up the phone when they can say, did you get my blank, right? Instead of, this fear of the phone. A question that I'll have for you, because I know that there's some people watching that have this question: what about the people that I haven't talked to in 5 years?
Here's my script. I can't believe it's been so long, and I couldn't let another day go by. That's the whole script. And that is in my heart for people that I haven't talked to in a while, right? I do have clients from early in my career that we just haven't talked. And then I can say, how in the heck are you? Are your kids graduated from high school by now? And just laugh.
Right.
Maybe they'll want to talk to me. Maybe they won't. It's not a tragedy. And I'm thinking of someone in particular that I met early in my career. I actually have tried to call him in the last few years and haven't been able to reach him. But that's what I was prepared to say. It's just, how the heck has life been for you in the last decade? So I heard a script. I heard a trainer tell his story of being so neglectful of his database, and he took on a business partner, and he had 2,000 people in his database, and he was calling no one. And she gave him a quota, and he had to start calling. And he called, and this woman picked up the phone, and she said, oh my goodness, Rick, I thought you died. And they just had a good laugh over it. And they had 4 children since they had bought that house with him and from him. So I don't know. I think very few of them are going to be testy with you. Just pick up the phone. And if you're afraid to be pushy, don't be pushy. Just call it up and say, this is ridiculous. It's been 5 years. How the heck are you? And then leave it at that.
Yeah, you and I have been coaching for a while, and I've not heard one piece of negative feedback who someone's made a call to it's been a while, right? And they were annoyed or testy or whatever. Sometimes the news isn't fantastic. Oh yeah, we moved 2 years ago, or whatever. But I don't think anybody is annoyed. And if you know those difficult clients that are generally annoyed people in general, you're not going to call them anyway, right? I wouldn't call those people, from the unpleasant transactions like you alluded to earlier today in the show. So moving on down here from
go back up, and I'll go quicker.
Okay.
We missed a couple of little lines there. So
social media.
So first things first, have some sort of a monthly touch. Then you probably want to give yourself a quota of adding people to your social media, and you decide whether you're a social media person or not. But communicating on social media can be a really strong way of staying in touch with your sphere. So go through your phone, go through your database, connect with people on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and start adding people. You decide. That 2 a day is just an idea. The touch is the content, the ads. This is your social media strategy, which we elaborate below on this document. So you want to be in community, and Facebook is a heck of a place. Instagram is a heck of a place to be in community with your people. Comment on their stuff. Their son gets second place in the track meet. Wait, I don't know that we have track meets anymore.
Right.
But be engaged with that sort of thing. I have a friend that part of her marketing budget every single year is that she gives to the charities her clients in Sphere are raising money for.
That's great.
Raising money for books for school. They're raising money for leukemia, lymphoma. She's the first one donating to their birthday fundraiser, whatever it is. So social media can be a huge part of this to really create community and connection. So calling them, I had somebody ask me just yesterday, Charlie, do I have to call people? Actually, no, right? You could text, you could email. A lot of us just don't want to answer our phone anymore.
Right.
And maybe we should have a lively call one of these days, show about apps. I found an app that will block the robocalls so that you can go back to answering your phone again because you don't want to miss your lead.
Right.
So no, texts work too. Video texts are great. Emails of various types for various reasons. I don't want to promote perfectionism, but I want to tell you, if you're going to send stuff to people that you really want to be in community with, make it good. And I heard this at the Bomb conference. They said, you're educating your audience about whether or not to tune you out, so don't send crap. Right? And this is not me asking you to overthink it, but seriously, if you're just dripping on them with something that you bought and it's not good, you're educating them to tune you out. Set people up on property searches as necessary or as appropriate. This is one of the most overlooked easy touches that you can do to send quality information. Events may have to wait. We can strike that one. Notes and cards of all kinds, notes of gratitude, praise, just really, really being grateful to someone. Popeyes can be so effective in this time, right? We've talked about this before, and it can be relatively inexpensive. Put something cute on their porch, text them a picture of it, run away.
Right.
I would say map out your route, be efficient, and don't underestimate how many you can do. I've shared that my friend Elizabeth, they do 120 in 2 days. They do it every quarter. They just get her done.
Right.
And coffees, that may not be a thing for a while, but remember that on this far left column, we're talking about those raving fans, those core advocates, those top 20 humans. So you really want to treat them special, and hopefully they are special. I would never do lunches, coffees, dinners with people that I just am praying for their business, but I don't enjoy their company. Okay. So really thoughtful touches, like, so-and-so is a huge supporter of the Golden Retriever Rescue, and you see an article about that. Send it, right?
Sure.
Buying them a copy of your most life-changing book. You heard us talk about essentialism. You read it, blew your mind. You buy a copy for all the busy moms, all the business owners, all the busy humans that you gave them a copy of Essentialism, and that made a big impact, right? Maybe you even have a special branded bookmark for extra, from my business to yours type thing. Annual reviews that you said, Charlie, annual home value reports. My goodness, talk about being their partner in the homeowner journey. Do a beautiful, full color, bound annual home value report that sits on their coffee table every single year. I have shared before that I have real estate friends, realtor friends who do a lot of these, not just for their A's and A pluses, but you choose. Now, remember, I warned you this would be a lot, and you don't have to do them all. If you would pick 3 of these things and do them consistently, it would take you really far.
I agree. Today was chock full of good stuff. And I know that we're going to get lots of views on the show for those that were not able to watch it live, because this is something that, whether you're a rookie or a veteran, there's very few people that I found that have their databases organized the way they want, and they're executing like with a plan of activity, every month, every quarter. So always good to see you, Amy. Have a great weekend. We'll see everybody back here at 9:15 Eastern on Monday. Take care.